it's Jen Schachter with another tested from home video. So a lot of you can probably relate to this. I've been sitting around at home looking at my space thinking, I could use a little refresh in here. A really easy way to make a dramatic change is with a fresh coat of paint, but this is a rental and most of the walls are concrete, so paint is not really an option. So I was brainstorming ways to make some dramatic changes that are inexpensive and also non-permanent. And I thought, what about painting with light? So I have two ideas for projects I want to tackle. They're both pretty simple and they're somewhat related, so I thought I'd roll them into one project video. So the first project I want to tackle are these itty bitty spotlights. I found these on Amazon. They're so cute, right? I think they're pool lights, so they're actually meant to go underwater, but I thought I could use them to uplight my mannequins. I have two over there. One is dressed as Carmen Sandiego and the other one is April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles. You can tell I grew up in the 90s, right? So I tested these out already and they look awesome. The only problem is the lens is convex, so when you look in that direction from the other side of the room, you get kind of blasted in the face with this super bright light. An easy solution would be to put some barn doors on them, but they're not a standard size, so I'll have to make them custom. And I think that if I attach a ring to the outer lip here and some little fins, then I can position and shape the light the way that I want. So that'll be the first project. The other thing I want to tackle are these light fixtures. So I found these at the thrift store. I'm pretty sure they're footlights from an old theater or like concert venue. They're weighted at the base, so it seems like they would have sat on the stage to throw light upwards onto the performers. They look really neat. They just need a fresh coat of paint and they're missing all the insides. So I got some cord kits and a set of color change Philips smart bulbs that you can control with your phone. And I thought it'd be neat to retrofit these fixtures with some modern lights. The only thing they really need is a holder for the inside to hold the light in position. So I'm gonna prototype a holder for this and some barn doors for these, and we'll see what I can do. Okay, so the first thing I wanna do is draw each of these out so I can get kind of the lay of the land. So to draw out this spotlight, it's got a ring here, and that front face has a convex lens sticking out. And I think this indentation in the top ring would be where the barn door can attach. So what I'm imagining is actually a circle that is totally not a circle, but you get the idea, with a narrow ring. And that would snap into place in this little indentation here. There's like a little divot all the way around, and a ring could snap into that. And then from the ring would be these rhombus-shaped fins that would connect to the ring with some wire as hinge points, and those would kind of fold in to position the light. So here's my first prototype. It's a little wonky. The angles are kind of weird. And I realized that because of that, I can't quite close them to direct the light. And if I do, I'll get these light leaks out the corners. This is one of those instances where my imagination of an object is not exactly matched with the reality. So I think I need to do some research on how barn doors are actually shaped. That's one of the first things they teach you in art school, like Life Drawing 101, is forget all of your preconceived notions about an object and just draw what's in front of you. So I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and research some barn door shapes. All right, version 2. This looks a lot closer to the right shape. So what I found out about barn doors is the side fins actually taper inwards instead of outwards. And that allows you to kind of letterbox in so you can really position your light. And if you look on the inside, the light leaks are a lot less because the geometry isn't battling with each other. So now I just need to test whether this inner diameter will fit onto the spotlight. Granted, this is a lot more forgiving because it's cardstock and not plywood, but that works. So it slides past the wider part of the outer ring and sits in that little indentation. I might have to mess with the tolerances a little bit on the laser cutter, but I think this is gonna work. That looks pretty good. The scale feels right, the shape feels right. I think I'm ready to take this to Illustrator and turn it into vectors. So I'm looking at these can lights, and I think the holder can actually be super simple. The front unlatches, so you can open that up, and I'm picturing just a circle that slides into the center. There's a narrow lip here, so it'll have to get past that, and there's another lip at the back that I think would be a good stopping point. There'll be a center circle that's cut out for the bulb base to thread into. And then I'm also thinking if I want to put a diffusion filter on the front, I don't want to totally close up that chamber. They are LED lights, so I don't think they put off too much heat, but just in case, I think there should be some airflow. So I'm thinking the center point will be sort of a hub, and there'll be spokes coming off of that to the outer circle. And then in between those spokes will be air holes, so heat can dissipate out the back. Cutouts, and this is the diameter that matches here. This will screw onto the front to hold that in place. Light bulb screws into there, and this will sit in the inside of the canister. Yeah, I think that could work. All right, so let's make some prototypes. Oh yeah, that blade went through on the first pass because it's nice and sharp. All right, keep going. I find that I get a nicer circle if I just come in with these tangent cuts, as opposed to trying to go the full path the whole way. All right. Looks mostly circular. And we'll get the inner one. So I had an idea about cutting the sides off so that it'd be easier to slide into the hole. So I'm gonna give this a try. Nice. And then grab a bulb. Awesome, that looks great. The bulb is in a good position. It fits nice and snug. The only thing I want to add are those fins, those spokes that I talked about. So that would get like a half-inch border all the way around, and on the edges here, and then this would also get border around the center hub, and then the spokes would just attach the outer piece to the center ring. So that's where these would be cut out and heat could flow out through the back. I feel pretty good about that. So I'm gonna take all these dimensions and transfer them over to Adobe Illustrator, and there I can create a file for laser cutting. I'm back in my studio today, and I brought home all of the laser cut pieces. They're really close to the original prototype, so I'm feeling pretty confident that everything's gonna fit. You can never be sure because the foam core and the cardboard are a lot more forgiving than plywood. Also, the laser cutter kerf varies a little bit between material. So I did cut a few different versions of the circles just so I have some room to play in either direction, but I haven't test fit everything yet. So I'm gonna pop it all into place and hopefully my tolerances work. When all my devices were charging last night, I went ahead and disassembled these. So, slide that into there. Fits. Fits. And then my cord here. Oh, right, okay. So that has to get screwed in. That has to get threaded on first. Yes. Okay, so that's gonna work for that one. I do want to test the other one because they might not be exactly the same. So that's one. So that one is a little bit more of a snug fit. Right. Yes. Great. So I've got two fitting pieces. I think I'm gonna cut a diffusion filter for the front, and yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Okay, so that's one down. Now I want to test the little spotlights. This is the one I was more concerned about because the tolerance is a little bit tighter. So and I have a couple different versions, so if this one doesn't fit, yeah, I think I want to try one a little bit wider. All these versions here. I also don't want to get it on here and then not be able to get it off. That one's also pretty snug, so... Ah, this is the one. This is going to be the one, I think. I hope. Ooh, well, we cracked one, but it fit. You hear that little snap? It snapped. There it is. There it is. So it snapped into that little indentation. Okay, so I broke one of them, but I have extras. And I think if I drill really, really tiny pilot holes into here, I can feed the wire in and then get my barn doors on. The spotlights are fully disassembled, so I'm going to clean them up a little bit and also sand down some of the texture in the paint. There's some chipping and kind of bubbling in areas, and I want to knock that down to a nice smooth finish before I hit it with primer. My spray booth lives up here. So let's try, this is gonna be a little tricky. Drilling into the circle is gonna be tricky. And actually, I might might drill into one of my scrap pieces first, just for practice. It's also going to be harder to clamp. I wish I had a vise. It's just not something, every shop I've ever worked in has had a vise, bench vise, so I don't really need to own one until now. Okay, so I also probably want to mark. I'm gonna think this through first. So I'm gonna lay out all the pieces first, and I'm gonna mark where I want the holes to go, instead of just arbitrarily drilling them. Okay, so that. They're done. So I turned the camera off because I started to get really sweaty and frustrated. You might have been able to tell me that drilling into the edge of 1/8" plywood was not a good idea. I had a feeling it wasn't, but I wanted to try it anyway. Everything I expected might happen did happen. The drill bit kept skipping off the edge and splitting into the wood, so I went through all the extra versions that I had cut out and totally destroyed them. In the end, these feel a lot more like prototypes than a finished product. They are functional though, so you can fold in the barn doors and shape your light that way. They just don't feel as polished as I was hoping that they would, but I've sunk so much time into them already, I'm just gonna cover them in paint and put them on my lights. Also, I think the spotlights are probably dry by now, so I can take out some of my frustration in sanding that primer. Everything has been painted, it all dried overnight, and I'm ready to start assembling my lights. Did I just do jazz fingers? I think I just did jazz fingers. I'm very excited. So I'm gonna start with the mini barn doors. I gotta say, matte black paint really transformed these. I'm feeling a lot more positive about the outcome than I did yesterday. It never ceases to amaze me how I can disguise my utter disappointment with one of my creations by just slapping it with a uniform coat of paint. They came out pretty cute. So I'm gonna try to attach this. I know it's gonna be a little bit tricky because the tolerance was super tight, but I'll see what I can do. I did bring the mallet out for the inevitability that I would not be able to get this on. Ha! I win. Perfect. So it sits in that little indentation just the way I planned, and that is not going anywhere. So I can, yay. I'm so pleased. You ready? Oh, look at that. It's so cute. It's like the character for your next animated digital short. So I can definitely shape the beam. And most importantly, the side pieces block that peripheral light spell that I was getting before. I'm gonna call that a success. So next I want to put together the big guns. And I've got all the parts. The question is, do I put the insides in or do I assemble them first? I think I'm going to assemble them first. Okay. Do you ever just get the socket on the first guess? So satisfying. And I may end up replacing some of this hardware because a few of them are zinc plated and I want to go for a little bit more of a retro look. So I could find some nicer stainless steel bolts. Look at those babies. Such a simple solution, but it totally worked. They look super slick. I can't wait for the sun to go down tonight so I can see these in full effect. Time for the install. I have the mannequin set up on this metal platform. I actually built this for stop motion animation. So I grabbed some earth magnets. I'm going to use those to attach the footlights to the base. Yeah! Oh, that's gonna look so good in the dark. What do you think? The sun has set, the lights are working, and I paired them to my phone so I can change the color using the app. Check this out. I can do separate colors. I can adjust the brightness. I can even freestyle using the color wheel. These bulbs are the best investment I've made in a while, and the impact of the space is huge. My landlord will be happy I found a way to decorate without putting holes in the concrete, and I can change the theme as often as I change my mood. So it's a win-win. That's all for me for tonight. I'll see you next time.